So, welcome to another board game review from theplayersaid.com. My name's Alexander.
And I'm Grant.
And today we were able to play Blitz Bowl. And this is from Games Workshop. Now, if you know anything about Games Workshop, they're the creators and supporters. They make Warhammer 40,000, a Lord of the Rings strategy battle game. They're into like tabletop miniatures war games. It's kind of their bread and butter. That's what we all know them for. But recently, they've started putting out a new line of just like a board game. Like, comes in a box, you get it at Barnes & Noble, like, this is a board game. And I think you actually can't get some of these board games, like, there's a Lord of the Rings one, you can't get those in a Games Workshop. They're really trying to expand their portfolio and get themselves out there. So that was a very interesting decision-making they've made, which I'm really happy about, because it means we get to play a really cool game like this.
Yeah, it's just cool, fun. We were just talking earlier, and it's just like unadulterated fun.
Yes.
Right?
And what I like, so Blitz Bowl is...
That's a big word, by the way.
Unadulterated.
Is that even a real word?
Have you been reading dictionaries?
Yeah, maybe I have.
Just been sat at home with Webster's.
Yeah.
So ages ago, like decades ago, Games Workshop made a game called Blood Bowl. And it's basically like a fantasy football game.
Orcs, elves,
yeah,
dwarves.
You have a team. It's like, anywhere from like 12 to 16 guys, and it's an American football style game, although it's different.
Huge, right? I mean, it's big board.
It's a big board. The games actually take quite a long time, and it can be fairly low scoring. But it's a game that's, because of its length, I think it turns some people off, or it's also fairly niche. Like sports games in general, I think are quite niche.
Yeah.
And then a fantasy one that's, in that kind of universe is somewhat niche. Now, the people who play it love it, and they love it because it's very chaotic. It's got there's some randomness to it, but like, it's a cult following, so to speak. So that's Blood Bowl. This is Blitz Bowl, which is basically, it's not Blood Bowl Redux, although it kind of is.
I mean, it's similar, right?
This feels very familiar to me, although there is some definite changes to it. And it's basically, it's 6-a-side in a really small, tight arena. So the game is quite fast and furious, and there's a whole bunch of extra ways to score points with these challenge cards, which is very different. And it comes in a box, it's all pre-packaged. So you get everything you need to play. You don't have to buy all these expansions and different boards and different things. So the game comes with 2 little sprues, each of these has 6 guys on them. I didn't use these because I already had all my Blood Bowl stuff painted up.
And they're literally the same sculpts.
Yes, these are the exact same
great miniatures,
molds,
by the way,
as that you would get in the new edition. Because I think Blood Bowl's on its 3rd edition. I bought it back in 2016. Grant, have we ever played Blood Bowl?
No, we have not.
We have not.
I played Blood Bowl Team Manager, not with you.
No, I've not played that
with
either.
my brother's group, which I love that game, by the way. That game is fantastic fun.
So I've played Blood Bowl. I bought it because I was like, sweet, this is a great way to get into it. When they re-released it with the new edition, had all the cool stuff.
Why haven't we played it?
So there's a few reasons for that.
Yeah.
We haven't played it because it took me like a year to actually paint the miniatures and get them done, because it just sat on my shelf for ages, because we all have a shelf of shame. And then it's a really long game.
Yeah.
We have a lot of stuff to do.
Yeah, we do.
So it was always something like, oh, one day we'll play it. But I downloaded the video game version, which I also highly recommend, because it takes a lot of the managing things and calculations out of it for you. If you want to do an action, it says, here's the dice that you roll, and you do it. So that's nice and easy. I actually really like that. I've played that a lot online, so I'm very familiar with the rules.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've never actually played the tabletop game. But so when they announced Blitz Bowl, I'm like, yes, I might actually get to play a physical copy of it, realistically at least. And so I was very excited for this. I know we tried to play it at Gen Con, and they didn't have it there.
It wasn't out the couple times that we went by.
But they were very gracious. They contacted us and were like, man, we're sorry you didn't get to see it. So, and Games Workshop sent us this in the mail, so I really, really appreciate that. So know that they sent that to us, so that's what this is. And I'm so glad that they did, because this was great fun, like you said.
I had a great... We played it twice in about 2 hours.
Yeah,
By the time we went over the rules, and we had a couple interruptions.
Yeah.
But
and
it's
I
fun.
think
Quick.
That's a credit to the game.
Yeah.
The game says it's about 40 minutes on the box. Might be a little bit longer than that, depending. It can end very quickly, though.
It snowballs. There's like this last game, I was able to score 2 touchdowns in back-to-back turns and score like 4 points from. Points. And the way the game ends is either what are these cards? The challenge deck runs out, or one opponent is 10 points or more ahead.
And 10 points might sound like a lot, but in Blitz Bowl, a touchdown is 3 points.
Right.
And then you have opportunities to pick up these challenge cards.
2 to 3 points.
Yeah, 1 to 3 points. So you can rack those up with some combos pretty easily. So, and I really like that because it keeps the game on a knife edge. There are times in the main game of Blood Bowl where it's very cagey, very defensively played. The game ends 1-0 and you've played it for 3 hours, and it's you can get into just some very defensive play. This is like you have to go for it,
right?
And there's some risk reward here. Which
I think in this game, if you're playing defensively, I think you're playing it wrong. Only because you have to score, so you cannot simply be lining your defenders up. It's got to be I'm going for it. And I think a couple of times I was like, well, I'm gonna set my guys up. I'm like, hell with it, just go for it. Just go for it. Make your roll. Oh, look, I got a key wrench. Great, I crushed you. I got 2 points. And so I think if you're playing defensively, I think you're probably. If you're a defensive player, I apologize, but I think you got to go for it.
But yeah, that's this game rewards aggression. Like you got to go, you got to score, and you can wipe people out. That's kind of the goal of it. If you've played Blood Bowl, there's a lot of familiarity. Uses the same block dice. And these are nice custom dice which tell you what happens when you try to tackle people and knock them over, that kind of stuff. But it's a lot of stuff is kind of reduced down and simplified. You only have 6 guys on the board, and they have like a variety of actions that they can take based on kind of how they are. But it's interesting the limitations that it places on you. Mm-hmm. So you can kind of move, you can move into base-to-base contact with someone, which is different. You can kind of throw a ball, you can make a tackle or block, a couple other bits and pieces. Yeah. But each figurine can only do
the same action once.
So you can't just
run.
You can't do that. So you end up doing some pretty interesting things, and with such few guys, there's some real strategy and tactics into like, okay, this guy's just all I'm going to do is stand up, because doing that means that this guy can move in and then assist him, and then you're like.
And you get 2 dice.
That was my whole turn, just to like try and try to. So there's some really cool stuff with what you're trying to do.
It also creates some gaminess, right? We talked about that a little bit as we were playing. It felt wrong, but because you can only take the same action one time, you can't run and then run again. But you can run and get close to the goal line. You can then do what's called a mark, which allows you to move a couple of spaces and get adjacent to. So that's how I ended up winning, right? I marked your guy that was
I had a goal line defender thinking, oh, I'm so smart having a goal line defender.
But that helped me be able to get in there, score the touchdown, and end the game. So you definitely have to, I think, understand the rules, understand the limitations, and then try to use those rules and limitations to your advantage.
Yes. And like I said, you have this stack of challenge cards, and these are just like extra bonus points. So it's like, oh, if you score a touchdown, one of them is like, you showboat to the crowd, you just get an extra point. Like, you just claim that when you do that thing. Or this one's, if you make a pass, like a good throw and a pass,
and you catch it,
you get an extra point doing that. And it's just things that you can claim during your turn. If you smash a guy and you knock him out, you knock someone down, get an extra 2 points. So there's points for just doing things. So there's times where you might have a good lead and you're like, I don't need to score a touchdown.
Right.
I just need to punch this guy in the face.
I'm just going to score 2 or 3 points, and that's like a touchdown.
And that's also a great theme, because the Blood Bowl kind of...
It's about aggression, right?
And it's very tongue-in-cheek as well, the way that it all works.
I wouldn't want to play the elves in this game.
The elves...
Sorry. I like elves normally, but I think in this game, I'm in it for the blocking. I did the orcs, and I did the dwarves. You did the humans. A lot of aggression with those 2 races.
Yeah, this is a very, very tight board at times. So maybe some of the more nimble races where it's kind of throw and catch and trying to finesse it
will be interesting.
You might find it's a little bit tighter. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But
it's only 11 hexes across or squares across.
Yes.
And then you have these big statues that in effect make the throwing lane about 6 squares across.
Yes. And this is a double-sided board.
Oh, okay. We didn't play the other side.
So on the other side of it,
we did not play the other side.
It's a very different type of board.
Oh, okay.
So this side does have a lot more open. It's 2 big lanes, and the middle's kind of blocked up.
Interesting.
And you basically roll a dice because there's 2 spots where the ball can go, and it's random.
Wow, that would definitely change things.
So, and how easy is it for Games Workshop to put out another double-sided board or 2 in an expansion? So I presume that'll come in the future. So I hope it does.
So one other comment, because I think you talked about the challenge cards. When you accomplish a challenge card, you actually get to keep it.
Yes.
And get the blue side, what's the bonus play. And they're everything from get a free reinforcement from the reinforcement box, reserve box. I mean,
a lot of stuff is like it breaks the rules. So you can sprint past and adjacent enemy players, which you normally can't do. You can like re-roll things.
Yeah, re-roll die.
Bits and pieces.
I used that one time to force you to re-roll a die that you rolled on me.
Yes.
We had an argument about that. A friendly argument, a discussion.
But then I re-rolled it and we all canceled each other.
Right, because you had the same card and you're like, oh, I'll just cancel your cancel. So, interesting. I think you've got to make sure to go for these challenges because these are so good that you can't afford not to get them and use them.
And these are an entirely new thing.
Concept.
Blood Bowl doesn't have like little action cards or anything like that. And there's like everything's kind of side rules, but these are really cool. You complete challenges, get points, but you also get extra stuff to do on top. And that feels really good as a player to do that kind of stuff.
Well, and it makes it gives you an incentive to do those challenges, not just the points, but getting those cards is really, really valuable. How many times did you use free reinforcements and I'm like, oh, that normally would have taken 1 or 2 of your 3 actions, so it really helped your action economy.
But yeah, this game is fast and furious, which I really, really liked, because it keeps you on edge. There's never a time where you're like, okay, I can breathe. Very rarely is that the case, because you're 2 actions away from scoring at any point.
Absolutely,
if it's over. So I think that's really cool. Now, for people who are interested, I've got all these nicely painted miniatures. I took a lot of time doing that.
And they're really good. You did a great job.
But the reality is the sprues already different plastic colors.
Yep.
All you'd need is like a hobby knife or like a sprue cutter if you had one. Just cut them out. These ones, I believe, all of these are push fit. Basically, you don't need glue. Right. You just need to cut them out and they all push fit together and everything clips in and it's... And I did that with a couple of these just to test it out, and it works. They're not loose in any way. They go together pretty decently.
Well together.
So if you didn't want,
and you would expect that from game. I mean, their bread and butter is miniatures, so they're good at miniatures.
Right, but
if
you play some of their if you play Warhammer or Age of Sigmar, that kind of stuff, it's none of it. Or very few of it was push fit. It's all like everything needs glue. Got it. These are it's built for just normally with a board game. Cut them out, everything sticks together. Boom, it's ready to go.
Yeah.
So that's nice. You don't. It requires a little bit of cutting, but it's it's minimal, and you don't need glue or anything. So you can just put it together and then it's ready to go.
Yeah.
That was the only thing where I was like, how much setup does this have? Not a lot. And if you already have Blood Bowl stuff, you just pick it up and go. And read the rules. Rule book is very short. It was very easy to get to grips with, and the rules, honestly, are very streamlined. There's a little play aid on your reserves that gives you,
which mainly reminds you of what the different dice faces mean.
Yeah,
there are smashes, there are tackles, and then there's a key wrench, which all have a different effect.
Yeah.
Key wrench is like -1 to that armor save.
Yeah, you knock them down, and then -1 to that armor. So there's a lot. I think there's a bit more injuring and bits and pieces like that, because you don't have all the skills and these extra abilities that your players gain through experience like you do in Blood Bowl. There's not that team building, there's not the leveling.
But that's not what this game is about. It's about lining it up, trying to defeat the guy by scoring it's not Blood Bowl developing and managing a team.
So you don't have that kind of that growth and that legacy aspect, which
is really cool. But once again, it's a different concept.
It's cool. This is a quick and dirty game.
Yeah.
And one thing I did enjoy, what was it? Well, because you have your player cards, and some of them do have special abilities, but that's like it. But a lot of it's very familiar. So the dice are the same blocking dice as Blood Bowl, but the faces actually mean different things. Some of them do. Mm-hmm. So normally this is just the skull symbol is a miss in this game. You fail to block and nothing happens. If you roll a skull in Blood Bowl, you tackle, you fall down, you get knocked down, which is much worse. Yeah. So there was a little bit of
some differences.
I'm like, okay, it's not terrible if I'd roll that. So you just got to remind yourself of a few bits and pieces like that. But I still have a little ruler for throwing.
Which we did, how many passes did we? Maybe 3 or 4?
Maybe 3 or 4 in a couple games.
I wanted to do some more, but all of my throwers were not great.
Yeah, it's hard to get it. It's hard to get them to go.
Which is a really cool thing. If you can get it to go, it's like, it feels really awesome. Good. You got it to work one time where you moved your ball carrier, you then got into not long range, but closer range.
Yeah.
You threw, made it a reasonable roll, didn't have any obstructions, and then you rolled your random die for your catcher.
Yeah, my catcher gets like an extra roll, and he can move some space.
I was like, my jaw dropped, and I'm like, what just happened? But yeah, that was cool. I did it once, and my big brute dropped it. He was a tight end.
We had two fumble rooskies where we tried to throw and rolled one.
Yes, those are fun. Those are just fun.
It's not. Because normally you throw the ball, and if the catcher fails to catch it, it bounces kind of near him. But if you roll a 1 or less, your thrower doesn't even throw it; just falls out the back of his hand.
That happened at least twice. Which was fun. That's fun.
There's a lot of dice rolling, so a lot of craziness is going to happen. But
I really
the fun of it.
Yeah, I also really like you have 3 actions, so that economy of trying in your mind to understand. Sometimes I don't think you think more than maybe 2 turns ahead. It's very hard.
Well, it changes so much.
Right, but you're trying to think, okay, if I do this, I can set myself up next time to do... So you're thinking about 1 turn ahead generally, but you're having to manage those 3 actions, and it's not as easy as you think. I mean, I abuse the crap out of my Troll Slayer. My dwarf Troll Slayer.
Yeah, he can mark and then gets this free block, which makes a big difference.
Wow, that was powerful. And it's only 1 die, but still, you've got at least 3 results on there that are good.
It's effectively having 4 actions instead of 3,
right?
Though, which
so that was powerful. So understanding those special abilities, I think, is very key. I also loved my Orc Blackguard. That guy
was Orc Blackguard from the first game.
Freaking awesome.
He just
got to roll 2 dice and kills everyone basically. But so managing that and understanding the abilities is very key to this game. I like that level of crunchiness, but it makes it fun and not burdensome, I guess. If I was having to think about 15 different things, that would be out of the spirit of this. Yes. What they're trying to do with this version.
They're trying to make this accessible, and I think that they did.
Absolutely.
Like, I would play this. It took us an hour to play that game, and this was like, man, this is quite a long game. But really, it wasn't.
It wasn't.
And that's what was surprising. I felt like we had a lot of game, and it was an hour.
And like you mentioned earlier, you are on a razor's edge. Yes. A knife's edge. Yep. Man, it can end just like that.
Yeah.
And there were a couple times where I'm like, I can't win this turn, and bam, I just happened to win. And and you were very close a couple. I was like, I got to get another point or 2, and... So yeah, great little game. I really enjoyed it. I had a good time.
So the box says that this is like for 8 years old or more. Did you ever play this with an 8-year-old or a 9-year-old?
Could my daughter Jane get this? I don't think she would get it, but
there's a little bit
more difficulty.
However,
I would say 10 and you can get it.
I would say that this is much easier to get than the main Blood Bowl game, because the main Blood Bowl is twice as big from a unit standpoint. And you have a lot more, like, overall strategy and your plays of how you play your team.
Got it.
There's a little bit less of that just because you've got fewer figures, and It's a bit more of like, okay, I can maybe keep 2 or 3 guys together at best. But with the blame one, it's like, I've got my ball, I'm going to make a cage around them, and I'm just going to advance. Or, I'm trying to set up different things.
Yeah, this really isn't like that because you only got 6 guys.
And the board is so small, you can just be on a dime, like, I'm going to do this other thing instead.
And that was one thing I found interesting. I thought at the beginning, I remember thinking, boy, 6 guys isn't enough. I thought to myself, it's just not enough guys. I don't know that I used more than... 3 guys. I mean, I felt like I was using the same 3 guys.
You keep a couple guys in the back as passive defense, and everyone else at the front doing.
Well, you've got your troll slayer and your thrower and your ball runner trying to get up and do stuff, and it's I don't know. I that surprised me a little bit because I was like, I'm going to try to form a line of 3 guys. You just need one dude, the ball carrier, and some receiver kind of eking his way into the end zone, standing in the corner, waiting for a ball. I mean, that's what you're trying to do.
Yeah. So this is one where I think best defense is a good offense.
Absolutely. Score quickly, score often, get the advantage.
Score more than your opponent.
Keep your opponent, behind.
So I appreciate you guys tuning in. This has been Blitz Bowl, and this is from Games Workshop. This is available now. You can go to your local game stores. This is in America. This is available on Barnes & Noble, I believe.
Oh, okay.
As well.
That's kind of cool.
So you can
as board games become more and more mainstream and
and as Games Workshop gets into that as well. For a lot of times they just have their own stores, and you'd go there and that's what you'd get.
And we have one in Indianapolis on 86th Street.
Yes, we do.
I've been in there multiple times, drooling over their Lord of the Rings minis.
I know. They have a Lord of the Rings board game, Quest for Mount Doom, which we'll do a review of that soon because we played that. That was dope as well. And it just... What these games are doing, they're fun board games, but they're also trying to get you... into their bigger games.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I so desperately want to play their new Battle for Pelennor Fields.
Oh, that looks really good. I know. I looked at that the other day.
But
looks really good.
I can't... Yeah.
Well,
that's how they get you.
That's how they get you.
Anyway, that's it.
And then they use people like us to get you.
Totally different topic there. So this is Blitzball. This is awesome. I had a great time playing this.
Yep.
This is, for me, this is a Blood Bowl that I'm actually going to play. I don't know how much I'm ever going to play the big Blood Bowl on a tabletop. The video game's really, really good. But for tabletop, I will always play Blitzball, I think. Because it's the same... feeling, so to speak, same look at miniatures, same kind of lore, but it's just quick and dirty, and you just set up and play, and everyone can learn it. You don't have to have 16 miniatures and this team roster that you've prepared. You just say, here's my guys.
Which there's some... That's cool, right? Yes, that element is really interesting and neat, but this is just... You're going to bang this out in 45 minutes.
This is easier for people to get into as a stepping stone to go to Blood Bowl, I think.
Yeah.
So this has been Blitzball from Games Workshop. I've been Alexander from theplayersaid.com.
And I'm Grant.
Thanks for tuning in.